acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I so love the last verse of the reading from John, because it says something about the essence of the very nature of this congregation and of many others like this congregation. John writes, "Indeed, God did not send the Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him." There is within the fabric of the Christian experience far too much judgment. There is within the history of the Christian story far too much heavy-handedness about the condemning nature of an omnipotent God. Our story that we celebrate in the mainstream of the Christian moment is the gift of goodness that God calls every one of us to take into the world. Not so much to judge as to heal, not so much as to lay a heavy burden on others as to lift the weight off people's shoulders, and not so much as to be heavily into a judgmental theology as to be very much celebrating the nature of a God who walks with us all the days of our lives. The Isaiah passage is one that is filled with wonder and awe. And one of the wonderful things that I enjoy doing evenings is to step outside on a clear night and look for constellations. I don't know what you might look for in the evening, but that's something I enjoy doing. And with the recent event of Venus on the horizon and the brightness of the planets, I was so intrigued by that. And I sense in that the enormity of the presence of the creative energy of God. And so, in a way, Isaiah speaks to that today when he says, "The moment arrived when I sensed and saw the hem of God fill the temple." And you have this description of a God that is all-powerful and that embraces all that is, yet a God that is mindful of us, a God who thought of us, and we were created, a God who breathed life into our human bodies, and we were given the gift of living, a God who gifted us with portions of the Spirit of God complementing each other, that we might be the people of God. This is the first Sunday after Pentecost, and across the whole Christian community today, it is called Trinity Sunday. And I'm certain that one of the things that our confirmands studied under Reverend Jay's excellent teaching was the nature and the concept of the Trinity. The Trinity is one of the most challenging things that we as Christians put out there as a way of understanding the total nature of God. In the old days, we said Father, Son, Spirit. Now we say Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer. One of the ways that I like to understand the Trinity is through the words of one of the early desert fathers, Gregory, who lived back in that first 300 years of the church's evolution. He described the Trinity as the source of light, the illumination, the teaching, and the gift of the warmth of light. The source of light, illumination, warmth of the light. An interesting way that we might, as people, imagine how it is that we relate to that omnipotent God, that God in three persons, that Trinitarian understanding. When we talk about the warmth of the light, we talk about the Spirit, the nature of the presence of God here and now. Undoubtedly, that is what Isaiah felt. A gift not only of acknowledging the source, of knowing and understanding and hearing eventually all those disciples in the New Testament, the words that Jesus taught, but eventually the gift of Spirit. Today we celebrate, affirm, and give thanks for that gift of Spirit. And the warmth that radiates from that illumination enters in and around and through all of our lives. In fact, not unlike Isaiah, we are asked, claimed, called to take that warmth into the world. This is why I think it's so important that we're not here to condemn the world. We are here to take God's goodness through Christ's teaching and example into the world. Today is a day when we celebrate the individual giftedness and the promise of the future generations. The individual goodness of all those things that will be shared. And so I ask that every one of us today celebrate the warmth, that essence of God's Spirit, that gift of God's Spirit that is present in our midst through the gift and the potential, the dreams and the visions of God's future for all of our confidants who share with us today. God does have a dream. God does know them by name. They were thought of. They were created. God breathed life into them, and God's gift dwells in them, waiting to be shared in remarkable ways. We celebrate that gift, that warmth, that presence